SDRL Season 8, Week 6 roars into Spielberg, Austria, where the Red Bull Ring's sweeping corners and punishing straights will demand precision beneath alpine skies. Expect wheel-to-wheel drama, razor-thin margins and relentless pace in this iconic showdown. Our reserve lineup this week starts with Tess Will and Jean-Claude in at McLaren, then Zyros at Ferrari, Black Fridays at Alpine, Xbox at VCarb and ICU in at Williams. Quali saw Black Friday put in the first sub 1 minute 4 seconds with a 103.7. Then Max Bean rocked up with a 103.8. And then ICU a 103.5. With 6 minutes left on the clock, 8 of the grid were sub 1 minute 4, and then of course Barbans dropped to 102.7. A time that only Barbans himself would beat as quali expired. Barbans would take P1, ICU P2 with a 103.1, Berkey an impressive P3 with a 103.24 against Mars's 103.27 in P4. Lining up on the grid, the front row has Barbans and ICU, Berkey and Mars on row 2, Black Fridays and Zyros on row 3, and on row 4 we have Sert next to Max Bean. Tyre-wise, the choice was mediums for the entire field, save for Sert, who chose the hard. The launch was good across the grid, with the first turn negotiated without any real drama. Turn 3 saw Tess Will and Lay having to take avoiding action as the cars stacked into the turn, both losing places in the process. Heading into lap 2, the front 6 held their positions, with Max Bean jumping Sert into P7 and Shuri going from P13 up to P10. The opening 5 laps were largely about consolidating track positions and ICU probing Barbans for weaknesses. By lap 6, with the mediums starting to wear thin, the question was how long to run them for. The first stops came at the end of lap 7, but the front 6 held firm. The first significant pit stop was ICU at the end of lap 9, closely followed by Berkey. ICU's early stop seemed to pay dividends into lap 11 as Barbans exited the pits behind him. Q, a hotly contested fight between the front 2, closely followed by Max Bean, Berkey and Shan on the lookout for any slip-ups. ICU would win out through lap 12, but Barbans eased back into P1 at turn 3 of lap 13. Q, a briefer but equally contested battle between the drivers. Lap 14 and Mars's pit strategy was about to define his race, having chosen to run his mediums ragged for this first stint, perhaps hoping for a safety car or to punt on a one-stop. Back a few seconds, P4 and P5 was being hotly contested by Berkey, Max Bean and Zyros. With the positions closely fought, Zyros and Max Bean were wheel-to-wheel through turns 4 and 5 of lap 15, with Max Bean for now holding out. Mars pitted at the end of lap 15 to change to hards. We'd already seen Sert's hards only go 15 laps, making a one-stop with 20 remaining laps look unlikely. Lap 17 saw Zyros eventually overtake Max Bean to take P4, with Berkey now in his sights. A move for P3 Zyros completed on lap 18. His job now would be to stay ahead of the pack and close in on the front 2. Berkey and Shan dropped into the pits from P4 and P6 at the end of lap 22. Perhaps with an eye on an undercut and good tyres, they rejoined in P7 and P8. ICU came into the pits at the end of lap 23, hoping to repeat his undercut on Barbans from the first stint. He exited in P4 with a 17-second delta to Barbans, who would pit at the end of lap 24. Barbans would exit P2, less than 1 second behind ICU. ICU had managed the undercut, he just needed to make P1 stick longer than the 1 lap of the first undercut. At the end of lap 26, ICU put Mars between him and Barbans, but ICU might have not expected Mars nursing tyres on a long strategy to fight back. But Mars went for P1 at turn 3, and the battle gave Barbans the slipstream and the opportunity to make a move. Thrilling racing. ICU managed to hold P1 through turn 5, but was now on the back foot with Barbans breathing down his gearbox. Barbans would make the move for P1 at turn 3 of lap 27. Both Barbans and ICU were now barrelling down on Black Fridays, who was hoping his one-stop strategy could take him to the podium, a hope quickly dismissed. Barbans and ICU passed Black Fridays so quickly his slowing pace would make him vulnerable to anyone in the top 6. Zyros and Berkey were both 7 seconds from Black Fridays and carrying penalties, but looked like the biggest threat. Zyros pulled to within 1 second of Black Fridays by lap 33 and was also dropping Berkey. Zyros pulled into P3 on track heading into turn 4, and Berkey would take Black Friday's P4 on lap 35. The questions going into the last lap would be if Zyros could maintain his 4-second gap over Berkey to negate his 3 seconds of penalties, and would Berkey pull out a 3-second delta on Black Friday to negate his 3-second penalty. Barbans would take the checkered flag, with ICU half a second back for the second week in a row. Zyros' excellent drive would earn him a podium, and Berkey would hold on to his P4 over Black Fridays, who survived his one stop and 90% tyre wear for P5. Mars would come in P6, Max Bean P7, Shan an impressive P8, Sert P9, and Tess Will rounding out the points in P10. With Takubi and Aurak's now out for the season, the championship is quickly going to look different. Barbans now has the championship lead, with Mars his closest contender in third. Behind Mars, Max Bean has consistently placed high, and Berkey has turned potential into results. But even then, they'll need to get on the podium to challenge Mars and Barbans these last 2 rounds. The absence of full-time McLaren drivers has seen Barbans and Max Bean take Aston Martin into the big money, with Berkey and Mars looking likely to take Mercedes into the runners-up place. Looking to week 7 of SDRL Season 8, we have a thrilling double-header, combining both Suzuka's precision and Shanghai's sweeping straights. Stick around to watch it unfold.